Hey, welcome to the OST. Hold on one second. Hey, welcome to the OST, the Opinionated Sports Talk Show with your boy Brian on this Tuesday, right? Yeah, it's Tuesday. Find the podcast site on iHeart, Spotify, and everywhere else it needs to be. Just give me a second here. You know I got to do my thing before... So today we're going to talk some football, a lot of football mainly. I'm going to talk about this Mayweather fight thing going on, which I don't understand. But just give me 1 second so I can share this to the groups that allow me to do my show in there. Sports Jungle, real time now. 1 second, people. We're going to talk a lot of football, talk some Raiders, Niners, Giants. I'm going to talk some Buccaneers. I'm going to tell you why, I'm going to tell you why I think this hype of Ryan Fitzpatrick is a little too much. Let me turn that down in my ear, my mic down. So, people that know me know I am all about, I'm all for the cap. I didn't get a chance to talk about this last week. I had a lot of technical difficulties. I didn't get a chance to get on there and say what I wanted to say, and because I had a lot of technical difficulties. What's up, Ray? So I'm just gonna go ahead and I end up deleting the show. But like I said, you can find the podcast on Apple Podcasts. We on iHeartRadio, and we also on Spotify. Without no music, I feel really weird here. What's up, Chuck? Buck Flair in the house with Fitzmagic. I'm gonna talk about Fitz. I'm gonna talk about Fitzpatrick and how I call it Overreaction Monday. And how a lot of people are gonna overreact. How people are overreacting to a lot of things. I got some Fitz numbers. I'm going to talk about all that later. A lot of football going on here. So let me start with this Cap stuff, okay? Cap obviously, he's a new spokesperson for Nike. Now, Nike's been catching a lot of flack. The people say boycott Nike, which I'm going to be honest, I don't understand. I just don't understand with this hatred towards Kaepernick. He's an activist, man. This guy started a movement that's gone really bigger than we can imagine. I said 3 years ago, not at this time, but we'll be talking about this 20 years from now. And he started a movement. And Nike has been known to do this. Nike has been known to been controversial, get into controversial categories like the gay activists, the gay marriages. They had these controversial ads about it all before. So let me just say this: people need to realize that what is Kaepernick's doing is making a movement. He has created this crazy movement. Like I said, he has started something that is beyond recognition. And there goes my pixels all messed up already. I have brand new connections on this phone. On my computer, and I'm getting bad pixels. I need a whole new computer. Someone send me a computer. I know. I hate this blurry screen, man. I hope it clears up. But if you guys can still hear me, just kind of listen in. I got to do the podcast side, because I stopped it last week. I stopped the video feed. I stopped the podcast. So I got to keep going. I don't know what's going on. I need a new computer, I think. But anyway, sales are up. Nike sales, since promoting Kaepernick to the spokesperson, or not promoting him, but bringing him in, sales are up 31%. And that's a lot. That's a lot. 31% of all the sales of Nike, that's a huge increase. So this boycotting thing don't really work. I just wanted to talk about that for a second. I'm not going to go too much on this Kaepernick situation. People know how I stand on it, how I feel. I think that I'm all behind Kaepernick. I'm all for him. I got his back on this. What he's doing is incredible, and I'm all for Nike. So I just want to touch on that. I don't want to get too much in it. We're going to talk about the 49ers. We're going to talk about the Raiders. But I'm going to talk a lot of football. A lot of football. But right now, I'm going to move on to some interesting boxing stuff. I saw something. While I prep for my show, I go through a bunch of articles. I go through a bunch of different headlines, different stories, and I find something interesting, and I kind of read it. I just can't believe what I found. I mean, it's all over ESPN and all that stuff. I can't believe that there's going to be a Mayweather-Pacquiao fight again. First of all, why? The first fight they had was 15 years, 10 years too late. Now they're going to have another one that's going to be 20 years too late. It's irrelevant. This fight doesn't mean anything. Pacquiao is 60 and 7, while we know Floyd is 50 and 0, and his last fight was against some MMA fighter, a good MMA fighter. So, first of all, I'm not a Money Mayweather fan. You know me. I just Money Mayweather to me just seems to be, I don't know. He's one of those guys that would rather he would choose to look good and lose than look bad and win. And if you look at his track history, he's not. Well, I'm not going to get into it. I just think this Mayweather Pacquiao fight that's supposed to happen. It's there's no need for it. And I would be interested to see how many pay-per-view fans they're going to have, because I don't think this is going to be a good fight. Not that it may be a good fight, but I don't think it's worth the time or day. I don't think it is what it is. It's all about money and what they could do. Mayweather, I read a report that Mayweather's down millions of dollars since 2017 in gambling debt. Maybe he needs the money to do all that. Money Mayweather. But this fight is irrelevant. It means absolutely nothing. Pacquiao could knock him out in the first round, and I wouldn't care. Mayweather could dance around the ring and win by decision like he always does in the 12th round. I don't care. I don't see any irrelevance to this fight. I really don't. But there was a good fight last week. There was a good fight. Alvarez, Canelo versus Triple G. There's going to be a trilogy. Let me just tell you that. There's going to be a third one. There's going to be a trilogy, Triple G, Canelo rematch. And I think that's what they need to do. Trilogies seem to be a good thing when they're good fighters, when the fight, it means something. But it needs to happen soon, because we know all these fighters are aging, and once you get in that age range, it's very hard to fight. So I just think that this trilogy needs to happen, because we all know from past trilogy boxing matches, and especially this Triple G and Canelo fight, 24 rounds just doesn't seem to be enough. We need another 12. We need another 12 rounds to decide this fight. And, it's kind of obvious that they'll have a third one, because I think the first one, the first fight that ended in a draw back in September of 2017, a lot of controversy behind it, a lot of wishy-washy. The second fight was a little bit better, but there's still a little controversy. I read some articles that they think Canelo won, they think Triple G won. So a trilogy will put it to rest, and it's going to bring out the best in the boxers, because they're going to have to go all for it and get this win. I didn't watch the fight, so I can't elaborate on the fight. I really didn't see it. I didn't get a chance. But from what I've seen and what I know, it's going to be Taylor Swift and Selena Gomez. It's pretty funny. Canelo, from what I read and from what I've seen, there was a lot of urgency from Triple G's side, corner in the 9th round. Alvarez he seemed to be like pursuing, kind of stalking the bigger man. He was really going after it. And that's kind of his MO, though. Canelo seems to be, let's do this. Let's put our best foot forward and let's do this. Let's not dance around. So, what's up with the hoodies? What hoodies? You need some hoodies like these? I got T-shirts for like these on sale. I got short sleeve and I got long sleeve. Just let me know. The second fight, like I said, the second fight lived up to the hype with Canelo coming out, beating Triple G. But it was a very small margin of a win. He won 115 to 113, 115 to 113, and then there was a split of 114. So we'll see how that Triple G, there is going to be a Triple G. I don't see why there wouldn't be a Triple G fight. Let me just check my, okay. So we'll see. 49ers did get lucky. I'm getting to the football. I just want to get past this. I can't just do all football all the time. I mean, I could. Why not, right? Why not? So, but it was a good fight. From what I heard, I want to watch the replay. I didn't get a chance. I was a little busy, so I didn't get a chance to watch the fight. Let's talk some college football real quick. There was something that was on one of those sports talk shows, the ones that are on. I mean, there's so many of them. I can't remember which one it was, but it was pretty interesting because they read a stat. It said that Urban Meyer took a team that was 6-7. 3 years later, won a national championship. Nick Saban took over Alabama. That was 6-7. 3 years later, they won a national championship. Jim Harbaugh took over a team that was 5-7. 3 years later, he's won 8 games. It just kind of... Harbaugh seems to be a little more hyped than he was. He did really good here in San Francisco. He seemed to have the right tools, and he put the puzzle pieces together. He had the exact same team as Singletary had, and he took them to the NFC Championship game. But I just think that in a college level, I believe college level basketball is a lot more a tougher challenge in college football because you're not dealing with grown men. You're dealing with basically children who are becoming grown men. And you have to find that area where you have to be their mentor, their role model, but yet you have to coach a football team. When they're professionals, it's all about the money. It's all about winning and contracts and free agents and drafting. College is all about recruiting and recruiting good kids, and you have to build them up to be. When you're in the draft, in the NFL level, as a head coach, you're just drafting players. You have the money, you get free agents. You have the number 7 pick. You look at the board. What do you need? Who's the best player that fits my needs? And you draft that player. You do it all from the desk. You really don't have to go and do too much. Yeah, you go watch the kid at the combine. Yeah, you go scout him. You go to his house and you talk to him. Say you might be a San Francisco 49ers. And I get all that. But in the college level of head coaching, there's a lot more to it. You have to be there. A lot of these college kids, sports figures, a lot of these kids in college, maybe they don't have father figures in life. A lot of them are single mom. They were raised by a single mom or their grandparents. They don't have that role model, that male role model in their life. So you have to be that. You have to go to their house. You have to recruit them to your school. You have to tell them why your school is better than all these other schools. Even, Alabama is the best team in college football these last few years. So it's a lot more challenging, I believe, to be a college head coach than NFL head coach. NFL head coach, you're dealing with grown men. These guys are getting paid. They have contracts. They have agents. They have lawyers. They have publicists, and they got all this stuff going on. And you have to deal with what they're doing on the field and their contracts. And as a college, you have to oversee these kids are getting good grades, or if they're presenting themselves in the school, they're not getting paid. all this stuff. So I think it's a little tougher to be a head coach. And Harbaugh, he was a good NFL head coach with the 49ers for a while there. But I think at the college level, he's a little bit struggling over there in Michigan there. So I think he's a good head coach. I think he's in a school that has a lot of prestige, is well known. Everyone knows the Wolverines and Michigan and the Ohio State rivalry and all that stuff. I do like Clemson this year. I think Clemson will be the top dog this year. You're right. I don't know about Georgia. I think Alabama will still be there, but I think Clemson will be the team to beat this college year. So I don't know about Georgia. I'm not sold on Georgia. They have a lot of holes to fill, I believe, but I think Clemson is the team to beat this year in college. NFL. I'm moving fast here. I got a lot of stuff to cover. I've been neglecting the first 2 weeks of NFL. Let's talk some NFL. I'm going to talk about Dak Prescott, how he's not doing so well. I'm going to talk about the Josh Gordon trade, Ryan Fitzpatrick. I'm going to ask everyone, why do people all of a sudden think John Gruden is a good head coach? Why do people think he's a good head coach? The guy won a Super Bowl against his old team with a team that was already built, and you check his stats, what he did after he won that Super Bowl, it all went downhill. But we'll get into that. Let's talk, since I got my boy Chuck Thomas here from the Sports Jungle. I want you guys to check out a sports page. If you're looking for good conversations, have a good time, and talk some sports on Facebook, check out this group called the Sports Jungle. And you can see my post there. I list all the sports pages. Those are the ones that allow me to do my show in their page, and those are the ones I handpicked that I really like. Those are the ones that I try to stay active in and all that stuff. So let's talk about, since I got Chuck Thomas watching the show from the Sports Jungle, he's a big Bucs fan. You got to watch his show on the Sports Jungle. I don't know. I'm not sold on Ryan Fitzpatrick. He's hot. I would keep playing him until he slowed down. Winston's coming off this suspension. This will be I believe next week is his last game that he'll be suspended. But even if Fitzpatrick doesn't have a 400 game, let's say he throws for 260, a touchdown, 2 touchdowns and a pick, I would keep rolling with the hot hand. That's the obvious thing to do. You roll with the hot hand. And Fitzpatrick is hot. He's absolutely killing it right now. But I'm just not sold that he's going to be some Super Bowl champion. He's going to be MVP. Fitzpatrick's not going to be the MVP. Every dog has his day. Everyone plays good at one time. I believe there was a time when Ryan Leaf was playing with the Dallas Cowboys. He was a starter, and he was on fire, and he threw a lot of games here. I just don't think. Let's look at the Fitzpatrick's career. He's been with 7 teams. He has 137 interceptions from 2005 to 2018. That is a lot of interceptions to throw. The thing that catches my eye is he's had 42 fumbles in his career. We're talking about 179 turnovers caused by. Now let's put in perspective. I'm a realist here. I like to speak the truth here. I keep it 100. I honestly feel a lot of interceptions should not be credited to the quarterback. Oh, there goes my pixels again. You can't see me, but you can hear me. But I just feel like a lot of interceptions should not be credited to the quarterback. I think if a quarterback throws a ball to a receiver and the receiver goes off his hands or his chest or something like that and it bounces up in the air and defender interception, should not be credited with the interception. Should not be. So I'm going to say that his 137 interceptions may not be 137 interceptions. But 42 fumbles is a lot of fumble. And I checked this stat out. Now, Fitzpatrick has always been a backup. He had a couple years where he started. And I think being in the NFL, you need that veteran backup. And I think he plays the role good, and obviously he's been taking the Buccaneers to a 2-0 start. But as Winston comes back and his play starts, obviously he's not going to throw for 300, 400 yards every game, which I'm surprised he did the second one, and I hope he does it next game because then I have to eat crow. But let me just say this. When he's played 10 games or more in his career, he's always had double-digit interceptions. 10 games or more. He's thrown a minimum of 10 interceptions or more. Only twice in his career when he played 10 games or more, he didn't. In 2008, he threw 9 interceptions. In 2014, he threw 8 interceptions. Now, I don't put too much emphasis on interceptions. I don't mind interceptions too much. I believe interceptions are a way of taking chances. You're trying to get the ball in there. I get it. If you look at a lot of the great quarterbacks in time, they have a lot of Brett Favre, a lot of interceptions, Peyton Manning, a lot of interceptions, and I get that. You're a risk taker. You try to get the ball in there. You don't play it safe. You don't do the Alex Smith and the check down. I get it. And I understand that Fitzpatrick's been on the Jets. He's been on the Bills. He was on the Rams. These were not great teams, but I always believe that if you're a good player, you're a great player, you want to be one of the elite quarterbacks or elite hitters in baseball or elite wide receivers, even when you're on a bad team, your personal performance excels. Your team will lose, but you play good. That's just because a lot of people always make excuses for why people don't succeed, and I think excuses are, I say this all the time, excuses are for failures. Or for people that have failed at something, they make excuses. And so I don't try to make excuses. But I will tell you this, he's doing the job. He's doing it well. If he continues winning games, even if he doesn't throw for 300-400 yards a game, I believe he should start. And Winston's being... Jameis Winston's, his accuser of the female Uber driver that happened years ago, she has filed a lawsuit, and he's going to be, it's going through the courts, and he's being sued. And the NFL had to take action. That's why they suspended for 3 games. And I think having Evans and Deshaun Jackson and those 2 receivers really helps a veteran wide receiver like Fitzpatrick. I'm not taking anything away from Fitzpatrick. I think the guy played great. I think he's been phenomenal. But I'm just not saying he should be the starter all year long. When Jameis Winston comes back, and you stay with the hot hand, but once the real friend Fitzpatrick returns, then you let your starter. That's the guy you draft. You're not going to win a Super Bowl with Fitzpatrick. I honestly believe that. And O.J. Howard. You're right. O.J. Howard does help. He has a great receiving core. The offensive line has, especially on the left side, has been playing remarkable. He's been playing. I always say this: there's quarterbacks out there that have great arms, perfect accuracy, but they never were elite quarterbacks because they never played above the shoulders. And that's what Fitzpatrick is doing this year. He's playing above the shoulders. I think he's playing phenomenal football. But he's not going to be, let's not overreact yet. It's 2 games. Ryan Leaf went through a stint of 4 or 5 games in Dallas where he was lighting it up, and they thought, this is the one. This is finally the Ryan Leaf that we drafted number 1 overall out of Washington State. This is the guy. But we'll see. We know how that turned out. Let's overreact because kids can do overreacting. Patrick Mahomes, best quarterback in the NFL right now, is going to break Peyton Manning's record of 55 touchdown passes this season. Well, he's thrown 10 in 2 games. He's on pace to throw 80. Now, let's bring it back to reality. Patrick Mahomes is not going to throw 80 touchdowns this year. The offense, he's doing it with mediocre wide receivers and a good tight end. Again, the offensive line is buying him time. I think that kid is going to be remarkable. but he's not going to throw 80 touchdowns. I don't even think he's going to break Peyton Manning's 55. I don't think he's going to break 55 touchdowns. But he's on pace. He threw 10 in 2 games, and it was very impressive that he threw it against the Pittsburgh Steelers too. Let me just do some invites here real fast. I don't see my normal viewers here, so I got to wake them butts up and get them on the show here. Yay. Oh, there it is. That's my boy right there. That's my boy right there. All right, we done. So, but I will say this that's not overreacting. I'll tell you this that I'm not overreacting. Did I say that the first time? The Rams are right now 2 weeks in, a very exciting team, and they are probably the best team in the NFC. The Eagles lost that week. Carson Wentz is not playing Carson Wentz-esque like he did last year, where he was talk of being MVP. Sean McVay has brought something to this team that is, they've outscored the first 2 games. They outscored their opponents 67-13. Now, is this like the greatest show on turf? I don't know. But Jared Goff, I said this when he was being drafted with him and Carson Wentz. I thought Jared Goff was a more polished quarterback in the draft. There was his hands were in question. He had small hands. His grip wasn't that good. But I thought he was the most polished. He was the one that played. He played smart football. He had a higher quarterback IQ, football IQ, and it seems to be shown this way. Carson Wentz, still great. We'll see if he's going to be one of the elites in the league. But right now, I think with outscoring their opponents 67-13, the Eagles lost last week. The Saints barely getting past the Browns. I think this is the Rams year. I'm a 49er fan. Cannot stand the Rams. They are the Los Angeles Rams, of course, and LA, San Francisco, Northern, Southern California, just how it always been. And I just don't see the 49ers beating the Rams like the Rams have beaten these guys. The Rams are on fire, and they're absolutely. Sean McVay has put this team together that's incredible. Here's a question for you guys. Tweet at me, your boy Brian25. Should the NFL get rid of ties? There's been 2 ties, 2 weeks, and it may not be a big deal, but ties later November, December, January, they're going to have issues with playoff records and playoffs and all that stuff. So, I don't know. Let's talk some Raiders and some Niners. Where are my Niners and Raider fans at? Where y'all at? I don't see y'all. So, let me ask you this, man. Why, for people that are Raider fans and people that believe the Raiders are a good team, why do you think John Gruden's some great head coach? Why do you think he's worth $100 million? Why where did this come from? Because he was on ESPN, he had his own little segment, the quarterback segment that he had. People think John Gruden is some great head coach. No. He's a good head coach, maybe better than others, but he's not a $100 million head coach. Guarantee you this, he is not going to stay in Oakland for 10 years. And I'm really confused why Oakland brought him back. He helped build that Oakland team that got to the Super Bowl that actually got crushed by Tampa Bay. But he was the head coach it seems like Davis's son, Mark Davis' son, Al Davis' son, Mark Davis. Al Davis had a problem with Gruden. That's why he got rid of him when he had a winning team, and then his son brings him back. I understand they're going to Las Vegas, so they need the prestige, and Gruden is a very popular guy and head coach and all that, but I just don't see the purpose of it. I just don't see. There's other head coaches that are not working that, to me, are better than Gruden. Gruden is 0-2 with the Raiders this year. They had a heartbreaking, if you're a Raider fan, 20-19 loss where Denver came back to win last Sunday. It's just I don't know. John Gruden won a Super Bowl. Yes, he won a Super Bowl with a team that was already built, with one of the best defenses to ever play in a Super Bowl, and they beat his former team that he helped build. He knew that team in and out. I don't get, you Raider fans, where you're saying he's a good head coach. Where in the records, look at his stats, where does it show that John Gruden's some great head coach? $100 million head coach. 10 years. $100 million. He's not going to stay 10 years. We know the Raiders franchise and organization. I'll give him 4 to 6 at the most, and he's gone. Fired, out of there. There was an interesting stat last somewhere. The Raiders are struggling. Derek Carr is not playing MVP-esque like he was a few years ago. Everyone's hyped on Marshawn Lynch, but he's beaten, battered, and bruised. He's not the Marshawn Lynch of Seattle and Buffalo days. They lack in the running game department, and I think trading Khalil Mack was the biggest mistake they made. Khalil Mack is absolutely killing it over in Chicago, made Chicago one of the better teams in that division just from defense alone. If Mitch Trubisky can up his game and become one of these good quarterbacks, then Chicago will be Minnesota, Green Bay, Chicago. They'll be in the mix of that, because getting rid of Khalil Mack, Oakland Raider fans, you have to tell me this, man. Was it a good move? Absolutely was not. Khalil Mack is one of the best defensive players in that game right now. You should have paid him, should have played him, and you should have kept him. John Gruden kind of came in there with his hot head and turned his whole team around. Let's say this. John Gruden is since 2008, his last time he head coach, and these 2 losses this year, he hasn't won a game in his last 6 games as a head coach. Tell me where he's a good head coach. Tell me where John Gruden is a head coach. And, just like the whole Joe Montana thing, tell me why Joe Montana is one of the best head coaches in the NFL. Joe Montana is one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. Now, don't mention Super Bowls. Well, go ahead and mention them, because I'll dispute them. I don't really care about a quarterback being rated on winning Super Bowls just due to the fact that it's a team sport. Brad Johnson won a Super Bowl. Does that make him better? Steve Young won a Super Bowl. Steve Young is better than Joe Montana. But John Gruden, back to the Raiders, getting off track here. John Gruden, he made this huge roster overhaul and changed his whole roster thing. Only 10 of the 50 draft picks, let me read this. 10 of the 50 draft picks from 2012 to 2017 are still on the team. 33 of those players on the current 53-man roster having not spent a single day on the 53-man roster last year. So 53 players on the roster, only 33 of them. Well, let me rephrase that. 53-man roster, 33 of them were not on the roster last year. It's too big of a change. You can't go and change. You can't have a turnaround that big. You can't you can't change the whole dynamics of a team when you get rid of your best defensive player, when you get rid of all these other. You just can't. You can't have. What is going on my phone here? Let me check my phone again. What's going on? I just hope it didn't pause and then. Alright, we're good. I don't know. I don't even know if I'm live on air anymore on Facebook. It's really weird. I need a new laptop. I need a new computer, people. Hook me up. I got shirts for sale, too. Don't remember that. Don't forget that. I got long sleeves. I got short sleeves. The OST. I got coffee mugs. I got mouse pads. I got it all. Let's talk some 49ers. 49ers. Now, I'm a 49er fan. After week one, I kind of predicted that would set the tone for the 49ers. I think they played good against Minnesota, but there was too many missed opportunities in that game against Minnesota. Too many missed opportunities. Garcon dropped the touchdown pass. Kittle dropped the pass. That was a deep pass that could have went for a touchdown, at least a big gain. Alfred Morris fumbled in the end zone, or the 2-yard line. And the 49ers struggle with their red zone offense. That was their Achilles heel last year. That seems to be their Achilles heel this year. They don't seem to have that killer instinct once they get inside the red zone. They need to score touchdowns. They play good, but their defensive backs really, the DBs, the corners, Jimmy Ward, and they seem to struggle at times. 49ers had a 17-point lead over Detroit. They almost blew it. But let's talk about Garoppolo. He bounced back. He went 18 for 26. He threw for 206 yards with 2 touchdowns. Now, he threw a pick six. Well, almost a pick six. It should have been a pick six. Lucky it was called back. I mean, that could have changed the whole game right there. The whole game. And then my pixels all messed up again. It could have changed the whole game if we would have threw that pick six. It's hold on one second here. Phone stuff going on. Emails being sent. I am a busy man and I cannot stop working, man. All work emails. So I think that Garoppolo bouncing back is what I expected. I thought the Minnesota game set the tone. They played good, missed opportunities, struggled in the red zone, and they got their act together a little bit against Detroit. I predicted they would beat Detroit, but I'm just saying that defense needs to tighten up. They had a 17-point lead and almost lost it. If Detroit didn't commit that penalty on that almost pick six, 49ers were lost. And that defense needs to tighten up. The defense and let me tell you, having a strong run game helps so much. Garoppolo, 206 yards, not a bad game, but it's not a great game. But Breida rushing, Alfred Morris, Matt Breida, and Jimmy Garoppolo rushed on 28 carries combined 190 yards. Breida had a 66-yard breakaway. And when you have a good running game, it opens up the pass game. I believe in NFL, you gotta run to throw. Or is it throw to run? Well, you need them both. You need one of them for the other one to succeed, no matter which way you think it is. If you think, there's exception to the rules, of course. Tom Brady's an exception to the rule. He doesn't really need a running game. And I found an interesting stat. The Detroit Lions have not had a 100-yard rusher since, let me look this up again. Detroit Lions' last 100-yard rusher was in 2013 when Reggie Bush rushed for 117 yards. That is 2013. We're in 2018-19 season, and you haven't had a 100-yard rusher? That is the Achilles heel of the Detroit Lions. The Detroit Lions need to establish a running game. Can you imagine how much better Stafford would be if he had a running game? If the defense had to worry about a 100-yard rusher? I don't know what's going on, man. My pixels are all messed up, so it's pretty crazy. Can you just imagine how good, or let me say this, how much better Matthew Stafford would be if he had a running game? You give him a running back that can give you 25 carries and 100 yards a game, a 1,000-yard rusher, that's going to change the whole dynamics of a team, of a defense. I like Matthew Stafford. I think that guy's played without a 100-yard rusher since 2013. The guy has carried this team to every win they had. Can you... 2013, 2018. What is that, 5-6 seasons without a running back that has rushed for 100 yards in one game? In one game. One game has not had a... It's insane. It's insane. Insane in the membrane. Let me check my podcast side on my monitor here. And there we go. There we go. We got it on, baby. Thank you. I don't know if you heard that, but I had a little cheer going on there, peoples. I don't know if Facebook could hear the cheers. So yeah, the Matthew Stafford would be so much better if he had a 100-yard rusher, a running threat. The defense would have to worry about it. Defense would have to bring they without a running game, play cover 2, you drop back the extra DB, rush 4 only. It makes it a lot harder to throw when you have only 4 rushers, because the defense don't have a running game to worry about. So it's interesting how Detroit has handled this since Reggie Bush's last 100-yard game in 2013. I get confused sometimes when things happen in the NFL. I don't get when things happen. I have to sit back and scratch my head. Like when you are in the AFC and you're the worst team in the AFC, worst team in football for the last many years, and you go and trade your best wide receiver, your best player, one of your best players. It's been a Brown since he's been in the game, and you go and trade him to one of the best franchises, the best teams in this last decade. You're only making that team better. Why did the Browns trade Josh Gordon to the New England Patriots? You don't help someone that's you're going to have to face someday. You don't help someone that you're striving to be like. You want to bring them down somehow. You want to trade them to trade him to the NFC maybe. I just don't understand the concept of the Browns trading him to the New, like the Saints last year when they traded Brady Cooks to New England. I didn't get it. Why do you want to hand Tom Brady these weapons? So Josh Gordon was traded to New England for a 5th round pick, and in turn, while the Browns will get a 5th round pick, they traded Josh Gordon plus a 7th round pick, but they only get the 7th round pick if Josh Gordon is active for 10 games or more. I like that little incentive. I like the little buzz. Here's an interesting stat. The Patriots have made 28 transactions involving a wide receiver since the start of the new league, NFL league this year in March. 28 transactions in the wide receiver since March. And I am really confused. I just don't get why you would hand over one of your better players for a 5th round pick. I would ask for more, to a team that has been dominating the league, who has been absolutely one of the best teams in football history, NFL history. Why would you go and trade them to one of those teams? I don't get it. I'm trying to watch my monitor over there. I have a monitor over there you guys can't see. Josh Gordon's only 27 years old. In 2013, he led the NFL with 1,600 yards with 9 touchdowns, but then he missed the 2015 season with drug suspension. There goes my pixels all messed up. I need a new computer really bad. I don't get it. Look at that. Can you guys see that? That's what you guys are seeing. You guys can still hear me. I need a new computer. I can't keep doing this, man. I thought it was my connection, and I got new connections, but got to keep going for the podcast. Now to you Dallas Cowboy fans, and is Dak Prescott your franchise quarterback? Is he, going to take you to the promised land? It looked like it when he went 13-3, 23 touchdowns with 4 picks in his rookie season. That was good enough to win Rookie of the Year. But in his first 8 games of 2017, 16 touchdowns with 4 interceptions, as the Cowboys started the season with a 5-3 start. Since then, things have changed. Let's look at some numbers here. Prescott, you guys can't see anyway because my pixels are all messed up. That's insane, man. That's so bad. That is so bad, man. On the podcast side, I do a Facebook Live while I do the podcast live, and it's absolutely, my screen is absolutely covered in pixels. You can't see anything. You absolutely can't see anything. It's so ridiculous. But anyway, Dak Prescott in his rookie season went 13-3, 23 touchdowns, 4 interceptions, which won him Rookie of the Year. In 2016. First 8 games, 2017, he had 16 touchdown passes, 4 interceptions. Since then, things have changed. The season, Sunday season opening last week, not this week, but they lost to the Carolina Panthers. Prescott was 19 for 29 passes, only threw for 170 yards against the Panthers. Dating back to last season, Prescott has thrown for less than 200 yards in the 7 of his last 9 games. He has not thrown a touchdown pass for the 6th time in his past 9 games. He's struggling. The offensive line has absolutely let him down. Maybe Des Bryant was a comfort zone for him, and he's not there. Jesus, pixelation is horrible, huh, man? I look like the pink monster or something. It's pretty funny. Sorry, guys. I'm gonna post this right now. Sorry for the crappy video feed. Oh man, it's just he hasn't. I found that an interesting stat. Let me read that again for the podcast side. Well, you guys can still hear me on Facebook Live. Dating back to last season, 2017, Dak Prescott has thrown for less than 200 yards in 7 of his last past 9 games. He has not thrown a touchdown pass. He has not thrown a touchdown pass for the 6th time in his past 9 games. Is he wearing down? I know the offensive line changed. Des Bryant's gone. He still has one of the best running backs in the game, Ezekiel, who's to me is an absolutely freak. That guy's a weird looking dude. I'm just trying to check out my video feed again here. Oh, it's clearing up a little bit, I guess. Sorry for the crappy video feed, people. Podcast side, thank you guys for sticking in there. Oh, now it's back to crappy. Yeah, I gotta get a new computer because I know that's what it's coming from. It's from my computer lagging here. And there I go again. Looks like I'm swimming in water. Let's end the show with a little bit. I want to talk about the little bit of this quarterback penalties. You know, the protection, the roughing the passer. I got an interesting number here for you guys to read. Or I'm going to read, I should say. Week 1 this year, 15 roughing the passer penalties. Week 2 had 6. On pace for 173. You know how many they had last year? They had 109. They had 7 in week 1, 2 in week 2. It's never reached double digits on the roughing the passer penalty. 2014, week 1, they had 10. But everything after that's been 8 or less. So this new roughing the passer penalty is really confusing to me. You can't land on them. You can't hit him in the legs. You can't hit him in the head. You could literally slap him with your hand on the head, and it's a penalty. If you hit him low and below his knees, it's a penalty. It's really... There was another 6 roughing passer penalties during the first 15 games of Week 2. That has brought a total of 21. And it's a real... Rob, I'm sorry you can't see my picture. I know my handsome face is not on the screen. But this... I'm talking about the roughing the passer penalties that have gone up. I understand the logist. I get it. You're trying to protect the player. The quarterback's in a very... I'm having trouble saying this word. Vulnerable position. But I think it's a little excessive. I think the quarterback is a football player. He wears the exact same. He wears pads like everyone else on the field. I think there should be rules to protect him, to help him. Yeah, this pixelation's horrible. To ensure his health, but you can't land on him. I'm not even clear on the rules here. I'm trying to read the rules while I talk to you. The league has further evaluated its extreme measures to protect the quarterbacks. I'm trying to read this as I go because I get the whole safety thing. I get it, especially with CTE going on and the quarterback's in a vulnerable position. I get it. 100% agree. But not landing on him, that's the Aaron Rodgers rule. I'm going to call that the Aaron Rodgers rule. You going to land on him, broke his collarbone. The league lost a razzle-dazzle quarterback. And it's not good. I'm gonna end this show early because this my pixels. You can't even see anything on the screen. It's horrible. I'm gonna get a new laptop, but I'll be back next week. Weekly show, the OST, debate, dispute, controversy. Find the podcast on Apple Podcasts. We on iHeartRadio and we on Spotify. But we're also on any podcasting app that. Just download the podcasting app, type in the Opinionated Sports Talk Show, and you find us. I want to give a shout out to the groups again that allow me to do the show in there. I want you guys to check out. Also check out this sports app called Sports Connect Us. It's an app that connects people through different sports outlets. If you're a football fan, you click on football. It's kind of like a little bit of a Facebook, Instagram kind of thing with sports. You can post pictures, video, comments. You have followers. You can follow people. Pretty good thing. It's called Sports Connect Us. Go ahead and check that out. Try Guru Energy Drink. No GMO. All organic energy drinks. Thank you guys for listening to the OST, the Opinionated Sports Talk Show. Let me just get to... I have multiple things going on here. Thank you guys for listening on the podcast side. The OST show, debate, dispute, controversy. Your boy Brian.